A shadowy figure slips through the mist-shrouded chapel, brush in hand. But this time, the paint isn't for art, it's for murder. Welcome to the gripping tale of Poirot and the death in the painted chapel, where secrets hide in every stroke, and Hercule Poirot's little grey cells face their deadliest canvas yet. Grab a cup of tea, take a seat, and immerse yourself in this suspenseful mystery. If you're hooked and enjoying the ride, hit that subscribe button. Your support means the world to us as we unravel more thrilling stories together. Chapter 1. The Invitation to the Chapel. The story begins in the quaint English village of Eldridge Hollow, nestled among rolling hills and ancient oaks that whisper secrets of bygone eras. Our beloved detective, Hercule Poirot, the meticulous Belgian, with his waxed moustache and unerring sense of order, had retired to a peaceful life of gardening and afternoon teas. But peace, as Poirot often mused, is merely the calm before the storm of human folly. One crisp autumn morning, as golden leaves danced in the breeze, a peculiar letter arrived at his doorstep. It was sealed with an ornate wax emblem depicting a chapel steeple, and inside, elegant script invited him to the grand unveiling of a restored medieval chapel at the estate of Sir Reginald Hawthorne, a wealthy art collector known for his eccentric passions. Poirot's eyes narrowed as he read the invitation aloud to his faithful companion, Captain Hastings, who had popped by for a visit. "Mon ami," Poirot said, tapping the paper with a manicured finger. "This is no ordinary gathering. Sir Reginald mentions a masterpiece reborn, but I detect a note of urgency beneath the politeness. Why invite a detective to an art event unless shadows lurk behind the splendor?" Hastings, ever the enthusiastic Englishman, chuckled. "Oh, Poirot, you're seeing mysteries where there are none. It's probably just a posh party with champagne and canapes." But Poirot shook his head, his little grey cells already whirring. He had heard rumours of the chapel's history, tales of a cursed fresco painted centuries ago, depicting saints and sinners in vivid hues that some swore changed colours under moonlight. Deciding to attend, Poirot and Hastings boarded the train to Eldridge Hollow that very afternoon. The journey was uneventful, save for Poirot's observations of fellow passengers. A nervous young artist clutching a sketchbook, a stern vicar reading ancient texts, and a glamorous widow in black veils who avoided eye contact. "Observe, Hastings," Poirot whispered. "Each carries their own puzzle. The human soul is a gallery of hidden motives." Upon arrival, they were whisked to Hawthorne Manor, a sprawling Gothic estate with ivy-cloaked walls and towers that pierced the sky like accusing fingers. Sir Reginald greeted them at the door, a tall man with a booming voice and a beard streaked with silver, his eyes alight with excitement. "Monsieur Poirot, what an honour! Your reputation for unravelling enigmas precedes you. Come, see the chapel. It's been painstakingly restored, every brushstroke a miracle." As they approached the chapel, isolated at the edge of the estate grounds, the air grew thick with the scent of fresh paint and damp stone. The building itself was a relic from the 14th century, its walls adorned with faded murals of biblical scenes, now vibrant once more thanks to a team of expert restorers. Inside, under the arched ceiling, a small group had assembled. Lady Eliza Hawthorne, Sir Reginald's elegant wife with a penchant for rare jewels, Victor Langford, the lead artist, a brooding genius with paint-stained hands, Miss Clara Beaumont, a budding art historian, and Victor's assistant, her eyes wide with admiration, Reverend Thomas Hale, the local vicar, who blessed the proceedings with a solemn prayer, and Dr. Evelyn Croft, a forensic pathologist invited for her expertise in historical pigments. Odd, Poirot thought, for a mere unveiling. The evening unfolded with toasts and tours. Sir Reginald proudly explained the chapel's lore. The central fresco, the Judgment of Souls, had been damaged by time and vandals, but now it gleamed with reds, golds and blues that seemed almost alive. Legend says the original painter hid a secret in the pigments, he boomed, a code that reveals hidden treasures or curses those who tamper with it. Laughter rippled through the group, but Poirot noticed tensions. Victor's furtive glances at Lady Eliza, Clara's jealous stares at Victor, and the Reverend's uneasy fidgeting with his collar. As night fell, the party retired to the manor for dinner, leaving the chapel bathed in moonlight filtering through stained glass windows. But tranquility shattered at dawn. A scream pierced the misty morning. Clara Beaumont, rushing to the chapel for an early sketch, discovered Sir Reginald sprawled lifeless before the fresco, his body twisted in agony, a paintbrush clutched in his rigid hand. No visible wounds, yet his face was contorted in horror, as if the painted souls had judged him harshly. Poirot, summoned immediately, surveyed the scene with his piercing gaze. "Murder, mes amis," he declared softly. "The method is ingenious, hidden in the art itself. But who among us wields the brush of death?" Hastings gasped. "Poison, perhaps, in the paint." Poirot nodded. "Possibly. We must question everyone, for motives lurk like shadows in this painted world." The investigation began in earnest. Poirot interviewed Lady Eliza first, who wept delicately into a lace handkerchief. Reginald had enemies in the art world, rival collectors jealous of his finds. But her alibi was shaky. She'd been seen wandering the grounds at midnight. Victor Langford next admitted to arguing with Sir Reginald over payment for the restoration. "He called my work amateurish," he spat, his hands trembling. Clara defended him fiercely, revealing her unrequited love, while the Reverend confessed the chapel's curse troubled him deeply, hinting at forbidden knowledge. Dr. Croft examined the body, noting traces of a rare toxin in the paint. Belladonna extract, perhaps mixed into the pigments. As the chapter draws to a close, Poirot paces the chapel, studying the fresco's details. A saint's eye that seems to follow him, a sinner's hand pointing accusingly. "The key is here," he murmurs. "Art does not lie, but people do." With suspicions mounting and alliances fracturing, the stage is set for deeper revelations. Who tampered with the deadly palette, and why? Stay tuned as we delve into the alibis and secrets in the next chapter, where Poirot begins to peel back the layers of deception. Chapter 2. Shadows in the Pigments. The morning mist clung to Eldridge Hollow like a shroud as Hercule Poirot stood in the chapel, his sharp eyes scanning the fresco's vibrant figures. The air was heavy with the scent of old stone and lingering suspicion. Captain Hastings hovered nearby, his notebook scribbled with names and motives, but Poirot's focus was singular. The paint itself held the secret to Sir Reginald's death. He summoned Dr. Evelyn Croft, whose expertise in historical pigments might unlock the mystery. She arrived, her face pale but composed, carrying a leather case of scientific tools. "Monsieur Poirot," she said, adjusting her spectacles, "the belladonna extract I found in the paint is rare, distilled from deadly nightshade. It's not something you'd stumble upon in an artist's kit." Poirot nodded, his moustache twitching. "Then we seek someone with knowledge and intent." The detective gathered the suspects in the manor's oak-panelled library, where sunlight streamed through tall windows, casting geometric shadows. Lady Eliza sat rigidly, her emerald necklace glinting like a warning. Victor Langford slouched in a chair, his artist's hands restless, while Clara Beaumont clutched a sketchbook, her eyes darting nervously. Reverend Hale stood by a bookshelf, murmuring prayers under his breath, and Dr. Croft busied herself with notes. Poirot paced slowly, his voice calm but commanding. "Mes amis, someone among you crafted a poison as subtle as the brushstrokes on that fresco. Let us examine the alibis. For the truth, it hides in the gaps." Lady Eliza claimed she'd retired to her room after dinner, alone, reading poetry until sleep claimed her. But the gardener, a wiry man named Tom, had seen a figure in a silk shawl near the chapel at midnight. Could it have been her? Victor admitted to working late in his studio, mixing pigments for the next day's touch-ups. But no one could confirm his solitude. Clara swore she was with him, assisting, yet her flushed cheeks suggested she might be shielding her mentor. Reverend Hale said he'd been praying in his vicarage, but his housekeeper noted he'd left for an hour, claiming a spiritual errand. Dr. Croft, oddly, had been in the chapel itself, testing pigment samples under moonlight to study their luminescence. A curious task for so late an hour. Poirot's questions grew sharper. He turned to Victor, whose temper flared. "You think I'd ruin my own masterpiece with poison? I poured my soul into that fresco." But Poirot's eyes gleamed. "Passion, Monsieur Langford, can be a motive as much as greed or fear." Clara leapt to his defence, her voice trembling. "Victor's no killer. He's an artist, not a chemist." Yet Poirot noted her sketchbook, filled with meticulous drawings of the fresco, some with annotations about pigments, including belladonna's botanical origins. Could her devotion to Victor conceal a darker knowledge? The detective then approached Dr. Croft, whose calm demeanour faltered under his gaze. "You, madame, have access to rare substances. Did you test more than pigments that night?" She bristled. "I'm a scientist, not a murderer. My work was purely academic." But Poirot recalled her leather case, filled with vials and syringes, tools that could easily disguise a poisoner's craft. Reverend Hale, meanwhile, seemed to shrink under scrutiny. He admitted the chapel's history unnerved him, with legends of a painter who died after completing the fresco, supposedly cursed by his own creation. "I feared tampering with it might provoke divine wrath," he whispered. As the interviews ended, Poirot stepped outside, where the chapel loomed against a grey sky. He noticed faint footprints in the damp grass, leading from the manor to the chapel door. Small, deliberate steps, as if someone had crept with purpose. Hastings, trailing behind, pointed out a discarded cigarette butt near the path, its brand foreign to the village. "A clue, Poirot?" he asked eagerly. Poirot smiled faintly. "Perhaps, mon ami, but clues are like colours. They must blend to reveal the picture." Back in the manor, tension simmered. Lady Eliza excused herself, claiming a headache, but Poirot caught her exchanging a glance with Victor, a look too intimate for mere acquaintances. Clara, watching them, gripped her sketchbook tighter, her knuckles white. The Reverend slipped away to the chapel, muttering about atonement, while Dr. Croft packed her tools with unusual haste. Poirot's mind raced, piecing together fragments. The poison's rarity, the midnight wanderings, the fresco's haunting details. "The killer," he murmured to Hastings, "is not just clever but bold, hiding their work in plain sight." As the day waned, a new discovery sent a chill through the group. Tom, the gardener, found a hidden vial behind the chapel altar, its contents shimmering with a faint purple hue. Belladonna, unmistakably. Poirot held it up to the light, his expression grave. "The hand that placed this here thought to outwit us all, but Hercule Poirot is not so easily deceived." With the vial as evidence, the net tightened, but questions lingered. Whose hand had wielded the poison, and what grudge drove them to paint death itself? The chapter closes with Poirot standing alone in the chapel, the fresco's figures seeming to watch him. A faint draught stirred the air, carrying the echo of a distant footstep. The mystery deepens, and the detective's little grey cells are only beginning to unravel the truth. Stay tuned for the next chapter, where secrets buried in the past come to light. Chapter 3. The Fresco's Hidden Message. The chapel stood silent under a sky bruised with storm clouds, its ancient stones absorbing the weight of secrets. Hercule Poirot, undeterred by the gathering gloom, returned to the fresco, his keen eyes tracing every line and hue. The vial of belladonna found behind the altar was now locked in his suitcase, a silent witness to the killer's audacity. Captain Hastings, ever loyal, followed close behind, his brow furrowed. "Poirot, that vial proves someone planned this murder with care. But how do we connect it to the fresco?" Poirot's moustache twitched. "Mon ami, the fresco is more than art. It is a map to the murderer's mind. We must decipher its code." Inside the chapel, the air was cool and heavy, the painted figures of saints and sinners looming larger in the dim light. Poirot focused on a corner of the fresco, where a hooded figure, barely noticeable, held a chalice that glinted with an unnatural purple sheen, the same hue as the belladonna. "This," he said, pointing, "is no coincidence. The artist, whether past or present, embedded a clue. He summoned Clara Beaumont, whose knowledge of the fresco's history might shed light. She arrived, her sketchbook tucked under her arm, her expression wary. "Monsieur Poirot, I've studied every detail of this work. It's medieval, but the restoration brought out colours I can't explain. Vivid, almost modern." Poirot questioned her closely. "Mademoiselle, your notes mention belladonna as a pigment source. Did you or Victor add such a substance?" Clara's cheeks flushed. "Never. We used authentic materials, ochre, lapis, verdigris, but I noticed Victor experimenting with unusual mixtures late at night. He said it was to match the original hues." Her voice wavered, torn between loyalty and doubt. Poirot noted her hesitation, sensing she knew more than she revealed. He dismissed her gently, his mind turning to the fresco's origins. Could the medieval painter have hidden a warning, or was a modern hand manipulating the restoration? Next, Poirot sought Reverend Hale, who was found kneeling in the chapel, his face etched with worry. "Monsieur le Révérend," Poirot began, "you spoke of a curse tied to this fresco. What do you know of its creator?" The Reverend's hands trembled. "The painter, Brother Anselm, was a monk who died in 1372, shortly after completing the work. Village lore says he mixed his own blood into the paints, binding his soul to the chapel. Some believe disturbing the fresco angers his spirit." Poirot's eyes gleamed. "Superstition, perhaps, but stories often cloak truth. Did Sir Reginald tamper with something sacred?" The detective's investigation led him to the manor's library, where he pored over ancient records with Hastings' help. They uncovered a journal from 1373, written by the chapel's abbot, describing Brother Anselm's final days. The monk had raved about a hidden truth in the fresco, a code that would judge the unworthy. Poirot's fingers traced the faded ink. "This code, Hastings, it may be the key. But did Sir Reginald discover it? Or did someone else use it to mask their crime?" Hastings scratched his head. "A code in a painting? Sounds like something from a novel, Poirot." To test his theory, Poirot returned to the chapel with a magnifying glass, examining the fresco's smallest details. He noticed faint lines forming a pattern in the chalice's design. Letters, barely visible, spelling "Memento Mortis." "Remember death," Poirot translated softly. A warning or a boast? The discovery sent his mind racing. Was this a medieval message, or had the restorer, perhaps Victor, added it to conceal the poison's presence? He confronted Victor in his studio, where canvases and pigment jars cluttered the space. "Monsieur Langford, did you alter the fresco beyond restoration?" "Speak plainly." Victor's eyes flashed. "I restored it, nothing more. But Sir Reginald was obsessed with finding some treasure hidden in the painting. He kept pressing me to reveal secrets I didn't know." The plot thickened when Lady Eliza, overhearing their conversation, interrupted. "My husband was no fool, Monsieur Poirot. He believed the fresco held directions to a lost relic, a A golden chalice from the Crusades. He was desperate to find it. Her voice carried a hint of disdain, as if Sir Reginald's obsession had strained their marriage. Poirot noted her composure, wondering if her grief masked ambition. Had she sought the relic herself, or eliminated her husband to protect another secret? As evening fell, a storm broke over Eldridge Hollow, thunder rumbling like an accusation. Poirot gathered the suspects in the chapel, the fresco glowing faintly under candlelight. He revealed the hidden phrase, watching their reactions. Clara gasped. Victor frowned. Reverend Hale crossed himself, and Lady Eliza's eyes widened briefly. Dr. Croft, however, remained impassive, her scientific mind seemingly untroubled. "The fresco speaks," Poirot declared, "but one of you used its voice to kill. The question is, whose hand painted the fatal stroke?" The chapter ends with a flash of lightning illuminating the chapel, casting eerie shadows across the fresco. A faint noise, a creak from the altar, makes Poirot turn, but no one is there. The mystery tightens its grip, with the detective closing in on the truth. Stay tuned for the next chapter, where buried motives and hidden alliances begin to surface. Chapter 4. The chalice and the curse rain lashed against the chapel's stained glass windows, the storm's fury echoing the turmoil within Eldridge Hollow. Hercule Poirot stood before the fresco, its cryptic phrase, memento mortis, burning in his mind like a beacon. The words, hidden in the chalice's intricate design, suggested a deliberate act, whether by a medieval monk or a cunning modern hand. The detective's polished shoes clicked on the stone floor as he paced, his thoughts weaving a tapestry of motives and deceptions. Captain Hastings, damp from a dash through the rain, joined him, clutching a tattered book from the manor's library. "Poirot, this journal mentions a chalice hidden by Brother Anselm. Could it be real, and did Sir Reginald die for it?" Poirot's eyes sparkled. "Mon ami, greed and glory are ancient motives. But first, we must uncover who among our suspects knew of this treasure, and who wielded the poison to protect or claim it." Poirot began his inquiries with renewed vigour, starting with Lady Eliza, whose poised exterior seemed to crack under the storm's oppressive weight. In the manor's drawing room, where a fire crackled fitfully, she sat with her hands folded tightly, her emerald necklace catching the flame's glow. "Madame," Poirot said, his voice smooth but probing, "your husband's obsession with the fresco's treasure, was it shared, or did it drive a wedge between you?" Lady Eliza's lips tightened. Reginald was consumed by it. He spent hours in the chapel sketching, muttering about a chalice that would make him immortal in the art world. "I thought it nonsense, but he was certain the fresco held a map." Her voice trembled, but Poirot caught a flicker of calculation in her eyes. Had she dismissed the treasure, or did she covet it for herself? He pressed further, asking about her midnight wanderings. "I couldn't sleep," she insisted. The storm was brewing even then. "I walked to the grounds to clear my mind." Yet the gardener's account of a silk-shawled figure near the chapel lingered in Poirot's thoughts. Next, the detective sought Victor Langford, found in his cluttered studio, where the air reeked of turpentine and ambition. Paintbrushes lay scattered like fallen soldiers, and half-finished canvases depicted scenes eerily similar to the chapel's fresco. "Monsieur Langford," Poirot began, "Sir Reginald pressured you about the fresco's secrets. Did you uncover anything? Perhaps a clue you kept to yourself?" Victor's jaw clenched, his paint-stained fingers twitching. He was a tyrant, always demanding more. I told him the fresco's details were just art, not a treasure map. But he wouldn't listen, kept saying the chalice was real, hidden somewhere on the estate. Poirot noted a sketch on Victor's desk, a detailed rendering of the fresco's hooded figure, its chalice marked with the same purple hue as the belladonna. "You are a man of precision," Poirot said softly. "Did you mix more than pigments to silence his demands?" Victor's eyes blazed. "I'm no killer. My art is my life." But his defensiveness betrayed a deeper fear. Clara Beaumont was next, found in the manor's conservatory, Her sketchbook opened to a drawing of the fresco's chalice, annotated with chemical formulas. Her youthful face was pale, her eyes red-rimmed, as if she'd been crying. "Mademoiselle," Poirot said gently, "your devotion to Monsieur Langford is admirable, but does it blind you to his actions? Your notes mention belladonna. Did you help prepare the fatal pigment?" Clara shook her head fiercely. "I only studied the fresco's history. Belladonna was used in medieval paints for its rich colour, but I never touched it. Victor, he worked alone sometimes, late at night. I thought he was perfecting the restoration." Her voice broke, and Poirot sensed her love for Victor was both her strength and her vulnerability. Could she be covering for him, or was she an unwitting pawn in a larger scheme? Reverend Hale, found in the chapel polishing candlesticks with nervous energy, offered a different perspective. His hands shook as he spoke of the fresco's curse. "Brother Anselm's journal warned that the chalice was a test of faith," he said, his voice low. "Those who sought it for greed would face judgment. I begged Sir Reginald to leave the fresco untouched, but he laughed, saying he'd outwit any curse." Poirot's gaze sharpened. "And you, Reverend, did you take matters into your own hands to protect the sacred?" Hale's face flushed. "I am a man of God, but, I admit, I searched the chapel for the chalice myself, hoping to hide it before Reginald could desecrate it." His confession hung in the air, a mix of piety and desperation. Dr. Evelyn Croft, the forensic pathologist, was the last to be questioned, her scientific detachment a stark contrast to the other's emotions. In the manners study, surrounded by shelves of leather-bound books, she spread out her notes on pigment analysis. "Monsieur Poirot," she said coolly, "the belladonna was expertly blended into the paint. Someone with chemical knowledge did this. I tested samples to understand the fresco's age, not to poison anyone." Yet Poirot noticed her meticulous records included a formula for extracting belladonna, written in her precise handwriting. "Your expertise is formidable, madam," he said. "Could it have been misused?" She met his gaze unflinchingly. "Anyone could access my notes. I left them in the chapel during my work." Her calm was almost too perfect, Poirot thought, like a canvas stretched too tightly over hidden flaws. As the storm raged on, Poirot and Hastings explored the chapel's crypt, a damp, shadowed chamber beneath the altar. Using a lantern, they found carvings on the walls, faint symbols matching those in the fresco's chalice. One stone, slightly askew, revealed a hollow space, empty, but dusted with fresh dirt, as if recently disturbed. "The chalice was here," Poirot murmured, "or someone wants us to believe it was." Hastings shivered. "This place gives me the creeps, Poirot. Do you think the killer moved it?" Poirot's eyes gleamed. "Or left it empty to taunt us? The game is afoot, mon ami." Back in the manor, tensions boiled over. At dinner, Clara accused Lady Eliza of manipulating Victor, her voice sharp with jealousy. "You flirted with him to get at Reginald's secrets." Lady Eliza laughed coldly. "My dear, your infatuation blinds you. I cared only for my husband's legacy." Victor stormed out, and Reverend Hale muttered about divine retribution. Dr. Croft watched silently, her expression unreadable. Poirot, observing the chaos, felt the pieces of the puzzle shifting. The chalice, the poison, the fresco's code, all pointed to a motive rooted in desire, whether for wealth, love, or redemption. The chapter closes with Poirot standing in the chapel's doorway, rain dripping from his hat. A distant flash of lightning revealed a figure darting across the estate grounds, too fleeting to identify. "The killer grows bold," Poirot whispered to Hastings. "But boldness betrays. We are close, mon ami." The mystery deepens, with the chalice's shadow looming larger. Stay tuned for the next chapter, where Poirot uncovers a betrayal that changes everything. Chapter 5. The Betrayal Unveiled. The storm had settled into a restless drizzle, cloaking Eldridge Hollow in a grey veil that mirrored the suspicions swirling around Hercule Poirot. Inside the manor, the air was thick with unease. the suspect's nerves fraying like old canvas. Poirot, his mind as sharp as a freshly honed blade, gathered the group in the grand dining hall, where a chandelier cast flickering shadows across the polished table. Captain Hastings stood by his side, his loyal gaze scanning the faces for signs of guilt. "Mes amis," Poirot began, his voice steady, "a betrayal lies at the heart of this crime. Someone among you wove a web of deceit, using the fresco's secrets to mask murder. Let us unravel it." Poirot turned first to the cryptic symbols found in the crypt, which he'd sketched meticulously in his notebook. He projected calm authority as he addressed Lady Eliza, whose emerald necklace seemed to pulse in the dim light. "Madame, you spoke of your husband's quest for a golden chalice. Did you share his passion, or did you resent his obsession?" Her eyes flashed with defiance. Reginald's dreams were his own. "I cared for our estate, our legacy, but I'll admit, he was reckless, borrowing heavily to fund his art hunts. If he found that chalice, he planned to sell it to save us from ruin." Her candor surprised Poirot, but he noted her clenched fists. Was her motive financial, or was there a deeper wound? Next, he questioned Victor Langford, whose brooding demeanor had hardened into defiance. The artist stood by a window, rain streaking the glass behind him. "Monsieur Langford," Poirot said, "your sketches mimic the fresco's chalice with uncanny precision. Did Sir Reginald discover you were pursuing the treasure for yourself?" Victor's laugh was bitter. "He accused me of stealing his glory, yes, but I only wanted my work recognized. That fresco is my masterpiece, not his." Poirot's eyes narrowed. "And yet you had access to the deadly pigment. Did you paint more than art to secure your fame?" Victor's silence was heavy, his gaze fixed on the floor. Clara Beaumont, seated near Victor, seemed to shrink under Poirot's scrutiny. Her sketchbook, now dog-eared, lay closed on the table. "Mademoiselle," Poirot said softly, "your loyalty to Monsieur Langford is touching, but it clouds your judgment. Did you see him mix the belladonna, perhaps believing it was for art?" Clara's voice trembled. "I saw him with strange vials, but he said they were for testing hues. I trusted him. I love him." Her confession hung in the air, drawing a sharp glance from Lady Eliza. Poirot noted the tension. Could Clara's devotion have driven her to complicity? Or was she merely a pawn? Reverend Hale, his clerical collar askew, fidgeted as Poirot approached. "Reverend, your search for the chalice suggests more than spiritual concern. Did you fear Sir Reginald's greed would unleash a curse? Or did you seek the relic for your own purposes?" Hale's face reddened. "I sought to protect the chapel's sanctity. The chalice belongs to the church, not to profiteers. But I swear, I took no life." His fervour intrigued Poirot, who wondered if religious zeal could twist into violence. Dr. Evelyn Croft, ever composed, met Poirot's gaze with a scientist's detachment. "Madame," he said, "your notes on belladonna were precise, almost instructional. Did someone use your expertise to craft the poison?" She adjusted her spectacles, unruffled. "My research was open to all. If someone stole my knowledge, they're cleverer than I thought." Poirot sensed her confidence masked something. Perhaps pride in her own brilliance, or a calculated deflection. As the interrogations unfolded, Poirot revealed a new clue, a torn scrap of paper found in the crypt, bearing Lady Eliza's handwriting. It read, "Meet me at midnight by the altar." When confronted, she paled. "It was to Victor," she admitted. "We discussed the fresco's value. Nothing more?" Victor nodded, but Clara's gasp betrayed her shock. "You lied to me!" she cried, her eyes welling with tears. The room crackled with the sting of betrayal, and Poirot seized the moment. This meeting, it was no mere discussion. One of you planned to use the chalice's lure to trap Sir Reginald, or to silence him. To test his theory, Poirot staged a bold move. He announced that the chalice had been found, hidden in the chapel's crypt, and would be revealed at dawn. The lie was deliberate, designed to flush out the killer. That night, under the guise of guarding the chapel, Poirot and Hastings hid in the shadows of the crypt. Hours passed, the silence broken only by the drip of rainwater through ancient cracks. Then, a figure emerged, cloaked in a dark coat, moving stealthily toward the hollow stone where the chalice was supposedly hidden. Poirot sprang forward, lantern raised, revealing Victor Langford, his face a mask of desperation. "Monsieur Langford," Poirot said, "you seek what does not exist. Did you kill to protect your secret?" Victor collapsed to his knees, his voice hoarse. "I didn't kill him! I only wanted the chalice to prove my worth. Reginald threatened to ruin me, to claim my work as his own." But before Poirot could press further, a second figure appeared, Clara, her eyes wild with panic. "Victor, stop!" she cried. "I did it. I mixed the belladonna to protect you. Reginald was going to destroy you." Her confession stunned the group, but Poirot's expression remained inscrutable. Was Clara's admission genuine, or was she shielding her beloved Victor? The chapter closes with Poirot standing in the crypt, the lantern's light casting his shadow across the symbols. "The heart betrays Hastings," he murmured, "but the truth lies deeper still." As the suspects reel from Clara's words, the detective senses the puzzle is not yet complete. Stay tuned for the next chapter, where Poirot digs into the past to uncover the final piece of the deadly canvas. Chapter 6. Echoes of the Past. The crypt's chill seeped into Hercule Poirot's bones as he stood motionless, Clara Beaumont's confession ringing in his ears. Her tearful admission that she had mixed the belladonna to protect Victor Langford hung like a fog over the chapel, yet Poirot's little grey cells buzzed with doubt. Captain Hastings, wide-eyed in the lantern's glow, whispered, "Good heavens, Poirot, she's confessed." The case is solved, isn't it? But Poirot's moustache twitched with skepticism. "Non, mon ami. A confession may be a shield, not a truth. We must dig into the past, for history whispers what the present conceals." Poirot escorted Clara and Victor back to the manor, the drizzle outside mirroring the unease within. In the library, where ancient tomes lined the walls like silent sentinels, he gathered the suspects once more. The fire had dwindled to embers, casting a ruddy glow on their tense faces. Clara sat, her hands trembling, while Victor avoided her gaze, his jaw tight. Lady Eliza's eyes darted between them, her composure fraying. Reverend Hale clutched a rosary, murmuring softly, and Dr. Evelyn Croft leaned back, her scientific calm unshaken. Poirot's voice cut through the silence. "Mes amis, the fresco's secrets are rooted in centuries past. To find the killer, we must uncover what Brother Anselm hid, and why it drove someone to murder." He began with the manor's archives, diving into records of the chapel's history with Hastings' eager assistance. They unearthed a faded manuscript, its vellum pages brittle but legible, detailing Brother Anselm's final months. The monk, a recluse with a fevered mind, had claimed divine visions while painting the fresco, believing the chalice he depicted was a real relic, an artifact of immense spiritual power, hidden to protect it from marauders. The manuscript hinted at a ritual. A chosen guardian, bound by oath, would conceal the chalice's location, passing the secret through generations. Could such a guardian exist today? Poirot mused aloud, his eyes flicking to Reverend Hale. Confronting the Reverend, Poirot's tone was gentle but relentless. "You spoke of protecting the chapel's sanctity. Are you perhaps a guardian of Anselm's secret?" Hale's face paled, his fingers tightening around the rosary. I am no guardian, but my family has served this parish for centuries. My grandfather told tales of a sacred duty, but I thought the myths." His voice wavered, and Poirot sensed truth mixed with fear. Had Hale's zeal led him to poison, or was he merely a keeper of forgotten lore? Turning to Lady Eliza, Poirot probed her knowledge of the estate's history. "Madame, as mistress of Hawthorne Manor, you must know its legends. Did Sir Reginald uncover a guardian's secret, threatening its sanctity?" She hesitated, her emerald necklace glinting as she shifted. "Reginald found an old letter in the manor's attic, written by a 17th century ancestor. It mentioned a keeper of the chalice tied to the chapel. He thought it was the key to his treasure. Her admission revealed Sir Reginald's recklessness, but Poirot wondered if she too had sought the relic's power, or its profit. Victor, still reeling from Clara's confession, was next. Poirot held up the manuscript, pointing to a passage about the fresco's creation. Monsieur Langford, as an artist you studied Anselm's techniques. Did you find clues to the chalice's hiding place in your restoration? Victor's eyes darkened. I noticed inconsistencies, lines that didn't match medieval methods. I thought Anselm hid something, maybe a map in the paint layers, but I never found it. His frustration seemed genuine, but Poirot noted his detailed knowledge of the fresco's anomalies. Could he have deciphered more than he admitted? Clara, her face streaked with tears, spoke unprompted. I lied, Monsieur Poirot. I didn't mix the poison. I said it to protect Victor because I thought he was guilty. But I saw someone else in the chapel that night, a shadow moving near the altar. Her voice broke, and Poirot's gaze sharpened. Who, mademoiselle? She shook her head. I couldn't see their face. It was too dark. Her retraction muddied the waters, but Poirot sensed she was closer to the truth now, her fear outweighing her loyalty. Dr. Croft, ever the observer, offered a new lead. The fresco's pigments include trace elements not typical of the 14th century, she said, producing a chemical analysis. Someone added modern compounds, possibly during the restoration, to mimic Anselm's work. Her findings pointed to a deliberate act, but her detached tone made Poirot question her role. Had she analyzed the poison to expose it or to perfect it? As night deepened, Poirot returned to the chapel alone, the fresco's figures seeming to shift in the candlelight. He traced the chalice's outline, noticing a faint seam in the wall behind it, invisible unless sought. Pressing gently, he heard a click, revealing a narrow compartment. Inside lay a small dusty scroll, its wax seal bearing the chapel's emblem. Unfurling it, Poirot read a Latin inscription. The chalice rests where faith meets shadow. His heart quickened. This was no myth, but a clue to a real artifact. Had Sir Reginald found it, only to die for it? The chapter closes with Poirot slipping the scroll into his coat. The chapel's silence broken by a distant creak from the crypt. Someone was watching, their presence a whisper in the dark. The past is alive, Hastings, Poirot said as his friend joined him. And it demands justice. The mystery tightens, with the chalice's true guardian lurking closer. Stay tuned for the next chapter, where Poirot confronts a dangerous truth. Chapter 7. The Guardian's Shadow. The chapel's air was thick with secrets, the faint scent of wax and damp stone mingling as Hercule Poirot clutched the ancient scroll. Its cryptic words, "The chalice rests where faith meets shadow," etched in his mind. Outside, the drizzle had ceased, leaving Eldridge Hollow cloaked in an eerie stillness, the moon casting pale light through the stained glass windows. Captain Hastings, ever the faithful shadow, stood by the crypt's entrance, his breath visible in the cold. Poirot, that scroll, it's proof the chalice exists. But who's this guardian, and why kill for it? Poirot's eyes gleamed in the candlelight. Mon ami, the guardian is no myth. They walk among us, their identity hidden like a brushstroke in shadow. Tonight, we draw them into the light. Poirot returned to the manor, the scroll concealed in his coat, his mind racing through the web of motives. The dining hall, where the suspects had last gathered, was now empty, save for the faint echo of their earlier tensions. He summoned them once more, this time to the chapel itself, where the fresco's figures seemed to watch with silent judgment. Lady Eliza arrived first, her silk gown rustling, her face a mask of strained elegance. Victor Langford followed, his artist's hands clenched, his eyes haunted by Clara's retracted confession. Clara herself entered hesitantly, her sketchbook absent, her gaze fixed on the floor. Reverend Hale shuffled in, his rosary clicking like a metronome, while Dr. Evelyn Croft brought her usual composure, her leather case of tools at her side. Poirot stood before the fresco, the chalice's painted glow a beacon in the dimness. "Mes amis," he began, "the scroll I found reveals a guardian's oath, a vow to protect the chalice at all costs. One of you knows this vow, and Sir Reginald's death was the price." He started with Lady Eliza, whose connection to the manor's history ran deep. "Madame, your ancestor's letter spoke of a keeper. As a Hawthorne, do you carry this burden?" Her lips parted in surprise, but she recovered quickly. "My family stories are just that. Stories. Reginald believed them, not I. He was digging into the chapel's past, yes, but I warned him it would bring trouble." Her voice held a note of regret, but Poirot caught a flicker of defiance. He pressed further. "And the midnight meeting with Monsieur Langford? Was it to share this knowledge or to plot?" She stiffened. "We discussed the estate's debts. Victor thought the chalice could save us both." Her admission hinted at collusion, but Poirot wondered if her loyalty lay with the manor or with Victor. Victor, standing near the fresco, bristled under Poirot's gaze. "Monsieur Langford, your obsession with the fresco's details suggests you found more than artistic inspiration. Did you uncover the guardian's secret?" Victor's voice was low, almost a growl. "I studied the fresco to restore it, not to chase myths. Reginald was mad for that chalice, threatening to fire me if I didn't help. I searched, yes, but found nothing." Poirot noted his clenched fists, the faint tremor in his voice. "And the belladonna in the paint? Your expertise could have crafted it." Victor's eyes flashed. "I'm an artist, not a poisoner." Yet his knowledge of the fresco's anomalies made him a prime suspect. Clara, her face pale, spoke before Poirot could question her. "I saw the shadow that night, Monsieur Poirot, I swear it. It wasn't Victor. Someone else was in the chapel, near the altar, holding something small. A vial, maybe." Her voice trembled, but her eyes were earnest. Poirot studied her closely. "Mademoiselle, your love for Monsieur Langford clouds your vision, but your observation is valuable. Describe this shadow." Clara hesitated, tall, cloaked, moving quickly. "I thought it was a trick of the moonlight." Her words stirred Poirot's memory of the fleeting figure he'd seen in the storm. Was Clara deflecting, or had she glimpsed the true killer? Reverend Hale, his hands twisting the rosary, seemed to shrink under Poirot's scrutiny. "Reverend, your family's ties to this chapel span centuries. Are you the guardian, bound to protect the chalice?" Hale's voice cracked. "I am no guardian, but I know the weight of duty. My grandfather spoke of a sacred trust, passed down through the parish. I searched the crypt to ensure the chalice was safe, but I found only dust." His confession was fervent, but Poirot sensed evasion. Had Hale's faith driven him to extreme measures, or was he hiding a deeper truth? Dr. Croft, her scientific detachment unwavering, offered a new angle. "The scroll's age," she said, examining a photograph Poirot had taken, "suggests it's from the 14th century, but the ink has modern traces. Someone handled it recently." Her analysis was precise, but Poirot questioned her motives. "Madame, your tools could have planted such traces. Did you seek the chalice for science or for gain?" She smiled faintly. "My interest is academic, but I'll admit, Sir Reginald asked me to analyze the fresco for hidden pigments, clues to the chalice's location." Her candor was disarming, but Poirot wondered if her expertise masked a darker purpose. To test his theory, Poirot orchestrated a subtle trap. He announced that the scroll's inscription pointed to a hidden chamber beneath the chapel, accessible only by a mechanism in the fresco. "Tonight," he said, "I will open it." The lie was calculated, and he stationed Hastings near the chapel's entrance to watch for movement. As midnight approached, Poirot waited in the crypt, the scroll in hand, the fresco's chalice glowing faintly above. A soft scrape broke the silence. A panel in the wall slid open, revealing Reverend Hale, his face ashen. "Monsieur Poirot," he stammered, "I only wanted to protect the chalice's secret. I knew Reginald was close to finding it." Before Poirot could respond, A second figure emerged. Dr. Croft, her eyes sharp with intent. "You're not the only one curious, Reverend," she said, her voice cold. Poirot's heart quickened. "Madame Croft, Monsieur Hale, your presence here betrays your secrets. Did one of you kill to guard the chalice or to claim it?" Hale fell to his knees, muttering prayers, while Croft's composure cracked. "I analysed the fresco for Reginald," she admitted, "but I found the scroll first. I hid it to keep it from him." Her words hinted at ambition, but Poirot sensed more. Had she poisoned Sir Reginald to silence his discovery, or was Hale's zeal the true danger? The chapter closes with Poirot standing in the crypt, the scroll's weight heavy in his hand. The fresco's figures seem to lean closer, their painted eyes accusing. "The Guardian is near, Hastings," he whispered as his friend joined him, "but their shadow hides another truth." With two suspects caught in his trap, the mystery edges closer to resolution. Stay tuned for the next chapter, where Poirot unmasks the final deception. Chapter 8. The Mask of Motive. The crypt's shadows danced in the flickering lantern light, casting eerie patterns across the ancient stone walls as Hercule Poirot faced Reverend Hale and Dr. Evelyn Croft, their presence in the hidden chamber, a testament to their secrets. The scroll, with its enigmatic inscription, lay in Poirot's hand like a key to a locked truth. Captain Hastings, stationed near the crypt's entrance, gripped his notebook, his eyes wide with anticipation. "Poirot, we've caught them red-handed. One of them must be the killer." But Poirot's gaze was steady, his mind dissecting the scene. "Non, mon ami," he said softly. "We have caught their curiosity, but the motive for murder remains masked. We must peel away the final layers." Poirot escorted Hale and Croft back to the chapel, where the fresco's chalice seemed to pulse with silent accusation. The other suspects, Lady Eliza, Victor Langford, and Clara Beaumont, were summoned, their faces etched with exhaustion and suspicion as dawn's first light filtered through the stained glass windows. Poirot stood before them, his voice calm but commanding. "Mes amis, the chalice's guardian has revealed themselves, but the poison that killed Sir Reginald was no act of divine protection. It was human, driven by greed, fear, or vengeance. Let us unmask the true motive." He began with Reverend Hale, whose trembling hands betrayed his turmoil. "Reverend, you entered the crypt to protect the chalice's secret. Did you poison Sir Reginald to silence his desecration?" Hale's voice was hoarse. "I sought only to honour my family's duty. Reginald's obsession threatened the chapel's sanctity. I hid the scroll to stop him, but I swear I took no life." His eyes darted to the fresco, as if seeking absolution from its painted saints. Poirot noted his fervour, but questioned its purity. Could Hale's devotion have twisted into a deadly act? Dr. Croft, her scientific poise faltering, faced Poirot's scrutiny next. "Madame, you admitted to finding the scroll and hiding it. Was this to protect knowledge, or to secure the chalice for yourself?" She adjusted her spectacles, her voice steady but strained. "Sir Reginald hired me to analyse the fresco's pigments, but I saw his greed. The chalice's historical value is immense. I hid the scroll to preserve it for study, not profit." Poirot's eyes narrowed. "And yet, your expertise with belladonna is unmatched. Did you craft the poison to ensure your discovery remained yours?" Croft's lips tightened, but she offered no denial, her silence a canvas of ambiguity. Poirot turned to Lady Eliza, whose elegance seemed frayed by the night's revelations. "Madame, your husband's debts pushed him to chase the chalice. Did you fear his success would expose your own secrets?" Her emerald necklace glinted as she straightened. "Reginald's recklessness endangered our legacy. I urged him to stop, but he was blind to reason. I met Victor to discuss selling the fresco's secrets, not to kill." Her candour was laced with defiance, but Poirot sensed a deeper truth. Had her meeting with Victor been a plot to eliminate Reginald, or a desperate bid to save the estate? Victor Langford, his artist's hands stained with the ghosts of pigments, met Poirot's gaze with weary defiance. "Monsieur Langford, your passion for the fresco is undeniable, But did it drive you to murder to protect your legacy? Victor's voice was low. Reginald wanted to claim my work, to sell the fresco as his own discovery. I argued with him, yes, but I didn't kill him. The belladonna wasn't mine. Poirot recalled Victor's sketches, their precision mirroring the fresco's deadly details. Could his artistic pride have fueled a darker act? Clara Beaumont, her eyes red from sleeplessness, stood quietly, her earlier confession now a distant echo. Mademoiselle, Poirot said gently, you saw a shadow in the chapel. Was it one of these present or another? Clara's voice trembled. I think it was a woman, tall and cloaked. I was too scared to follow. Her words pointed to Lady Eliza or Dr. Croft, but her hesitation suggested fear of betraying someone. Or something else. Poirot's mind churned. Was Clara's vision a clue or a distraction? To unravel the motive, Poirot revisited the crime scene, examining the fresco with a magnifying glass. He noticed a faint scratch near the chalice's base, as if someone had pried at the wall. Kneeling, he found a loose stone, revealing a tiny compartment containing a single gold coin, its surface etched with the chapel's emblem. A token of the chalice's existence, Poirot murmured to Hastings. Sir Reginald found this, and it cost him his life. The coin suggested someone had uncovered part of the treasure, but who? Poirot staged a final gambit, gathering the suspects around the fresco. He held up the coin, its gleam drawing gasps. This was found where Sir Reginald died. The killer knew its value and killed to keep it hidden. Lady Eliza's hand flew to her necklace, a reflex Poirot noted. Croft's eyes widened briefly, while Hale muttered a prayer. Victor and Clara exchanged glances, their bond strained but unbroken. Poirot's voice rose. The motive is clear. One of you sought the chalice not for glory, but for power. The poison was your brush. The fresco, your canvas. As tension peaked, a sudden noise, a clatter from the crypt, broke the silence. Poirot and Hastings rushed below, finding a toppled candelabrum and a fresh footprint in the dust, its size matching a woman's shoe. The killer returns, Poirot said, his eyes scanning the shadows. They seek to erase their traces. The footprint pointed to either Lady Eliza or Dr. Croft, but Poirot's instincts whispered of a deeper deception. The chapter closes with Poirot standing before the fresco, the coin in his hand, the footprint's mystery unresolved. The mask is slipping, Hastings, he said softly. The killer's motive is close to the surface. With the suspect's secrets unraveling, the truth edges nearer. Stay tuned for the next chapter, where Poirot sets a final trap to catch the murderer. Chapter 9. The Trap of Truth. The chapel's silence was oppressive, broken only by the faint drip of water from the crypt's ancient stones. Hercule Poirot stood beneath the fresco, the gold coin glinting in his palm, its chapel emblem a silent witness to Sir Reginald's murder. The fresh footprint in the dust, small, likely a woman's, pointed to a desperate attempt to cover tracks. But Poirot's little grey cells were alight with certainty. Captain Hastings, pacing nervously, whispered, Poirot, that footprint changes everything. It's Lady Eliza or Dr. Croft, surely. Poirot's moustache twitched. Mon ami, the footprint is a clue, but the truth lies in the heart. Tonight, we set a trap to unmask the killer. Poirot gathered the suspects in the manor's drawing room, where a fire roared, casting long shadows across the ornate rugs. Lady Eliza sat with rigid poise, her emerald necklace a stark contrast to her pale face. Victor Langford leaned against a wall, his artist's eyes hollow with strain. Clara Beaumont clutched her hands, her loyalty to Victor warring with her fear. Reverend Hale stood by a window, his rosary beads clicking rhythmically, while Dr. Evelyn Croft maintained her scientific calm, her leather case at her feet. Poirot's voice was steady, commanding attention. Mes amis, the chalice's secret drove one of you to murder. Tonight, I reveal its hiding place and the killer's identity. He began with a calculated deception, announcing that the gold coin had unlocked the fresco's final secret. a hidden chamber beneath the chapel, containing the chalice itself. "At midnight," Poirot declared, "I will open it, with all of you present." His words sparked a ripple of tension. Lady Eliza's fingers tightened on her necklace. Victor's jaw clenched. Clara's eyes widened. Hale's prayers grew louder, and Croft's gaze sharpened. Poirot watched each reaction, knowing the killer would act to protect their secret. To prepare his trap, Poirot enlisted Hastings to rig a subtle alarm. A thin wire stretched across the crypt's entrance, connected to a bell hidden in the chapel. "If the killer moves tonight, we will know," Poirot said, his eyes gleaming. He then examined the footprint again, noting its shallow tread and elegant curve, suggesting a refined shoe, not a common one. "This is no servant's mark," he murmured. "It belongs to someone of status, or someone who wishes to appear so." As evening fell, Poirot questioned Lady Eliza privately in the library, where books of art history lined the shelves. "Madame, your necklace. Emeralds like those are rare, a treasure in themselves. Did Sir Reginald's hunt for the chalice threaten your wealth?" Her voice was sharp. "My jewels are my own, earned before Reginald's debts. He was foolish, chasing myths while creditors circled. I wanted him to stop, but murder? Never." Her defiance rang true, but Poirot recalled her midnight meeting with Victor. Was it truly about debts or a deeper conspiracy? Victor, questioned next in his studio, was volatile. "Monsieur Langford," Poirot said, "your sketches of the chalice suggest you knew its secrets. Did you kill to claim it?" Victor's hands shook. "Reginald wanted to sell my work, to pass it off as his discovery. I hated him for it, but I didn't poison him." His passion was raw, but Poirot wondered if his pride had turned lethal. Clara, found in the conservatory, was a bundle of nerves. "Mademoiselle, your shadow in the chapel. Was it Lady Eliza or Dr. Croft?" Clara's voice was barely a whisper. "I think it was Lady Eliza. Her cloak, her height, it matched. But I'm not sure." Her uncertainty frustrated Poirot, but her fear suggested she was no longer shielding Victor. Was she now pointing to the true culprit or deflecting? Reverend Hale, in the chapel polishing candlesticks, seemed haunted. "Reverend, your family's duty to the chalice is clear. Did you kill to protect it?" Hale's eyes filled with tears. "I failed as a guardian. I searched for the chalice to keep it from Reginald, but I found nothing. God forgive me, I did no harm." His sincerity moved Poirot, but zeal could mask guilt. Dr. Croft in the study was unflappable. "Madam, your knowledge of belladonna is precise. Did you guide the killer's hand?" She smiled thinly. "My notes were open to all. If someone used them, they're cleverer than I gave credit." Her confidence bordered on arrogance, and Poirot sensed she was playing a game of her own. At midnight, the suspects gathered in the chapel, the fresco looming above. Poirot stood by the altar, claiming to activate the hidden chamber. As he pressed a stone, part of his ruse, the bell rang out, signaling someone had crossed the crypt's wire. Poirot and Hastings rushed below, finding Lady Eliza, her cloak dusted with crypt dirt, a vial of purple liquid in her hand. "Madame!" Poirot exclaimed. "You returned to hide your poison." She froze, then laughed bitterly. "I came to destroy evidence, yes, but not mine. I found this vial in Victor's studio." "He's the killer!" Victor, pushed forward by Clara, shouted. "She's lying!" "I never touched belladonna." But Clara's voice cut through. "I saw her plant it, Monsieur Poirot." "She's framing Victor!" The accusations flew, and Poirot's eyes gleamed. The trap had worked, exposing desperation, but the killer's mask remained. The chapter closes with Poirot holding the vial, the fresco's chalice glowing behind him. "The truth is near, Hastings," he whispered. "One lie too many will unravel it." With accusations swirling, the killer's identity teeters on the edge. Stay tuned for the final chapter, where Poirot reveals the murderer's face. Chapter 10. The Final Stroke. The chapel's air was heavy with anticipation, the fresco's painted chalice casting a spectral glow as dawn's light crept through the stained glass windows of Eldridge Hollow. Hercule Poirot stood at the altar, the vial of belladonna in one hand, the gold coin in the other, his eyes scanning the suspects gathered before him. Lady Eliza, her emerald necklace glinting with defiance. Victor Langford, his artist's hands trembling with suppressed rage. Clara Beaumont, her face pale with fear and loyalty. Reverend Hale, his rosary beads stilled in prayer. And Dr. Evelyn Croft, her scientific calm a mask of steel. Captain Hastings stood by the crypt's entrance, his notebook forgotten, his breath held as Poirot's voice rang out. Mes amis, the time for masks is over. The fresco has spoken, the chalice has revealed its guardian, and the murderer stands among us. Let Hercule Poirot unveil the truth. Poirot began with the crime itself, his words precise as a painter's brush. Sir Reginald Hawthorne died by belladonna, cunningly mixed into the fresco's paint. A poison that killed without a wound. The chalice, a relic of legend, was the lure, its secret guarded through centuries. But who wielded the fatal stroke? He held up the scroll, its inscription. The chalice rests where faith meets shadow, a key to the motive. This scroll, hidden in the fresco's compartment, pointed to a guardian's oath. Sir Reginald's obsession threatened to expose it, and one of you killed to protect, or possess, the chalice's power. He turned first to Lady Eliza, her elegance now a brittle facade. Madame, your husband's debts drove him to chase the chalice, but you claim to scorn his quest. Yet your midnight meeting with Victor Langford, your note by the altar, and the footprint in the crypt suggest deeper involvement. Did you poison Sir Reginald to save your legacy? Her eyes flashed. I despised his folly, yes, but I loved him. I met Victor to beg him to stop feeding Reginald's obsession. The vial I found was his. Poirot's gaze was unyielding. A convenient accusation, madame, but your cloak matches Clara's shadow, and your emeralds mirror the greed that drove this crime. Next, he faced Victor Langford, whose passion for the fresco had turned to torment. Monsieur Langford, your sketches knew the chalice's secrets, and Sir Reginald's threats to claim your work gave you motive. Did you mix belladonna to secure your fame? Victor's voice was raw. I hated him, yes, but I'm no murderer. The vial isn't mine. Lady Eliza planted it. Poirot noted his fervour, but recalled his expertise with pigments. Your hands, monsieur, could have crafted death as easily as art. Clara Beaumont, her loyalty to Victor unwavering, trembled as Poirot addressed her. Mademoiselle, your confession was a lie to protect Victor, but your shadow in the chapel points to truth. Did you act to shield your love, or to hide your own deed? Clara's tears fell. I saw Lady Eliza that night, I swear. I'd never hurt anyone, even for Victor. Her sincerity moved Poirot, but her vision of the cloaked figure kept his suspicions alive. Reverend Hale, his face etched with guilt, met Poirot's gaze. Reverend, your family's duty as guardians of the chalice gave you reason to fear Sir Reginald's greed. Did you poison to protect your faith? Hale's voice broke. I failed my ancestors, searching the crypt in vain, but I took no life. God is my witness. His devotion rang true, but Poirot wondered if his zeal had crossed into fanaticism. Dr. Evelyn Croft, her composure unshaken, faced Poirot's final scrutiny. Madame, your knowledge of belladonna was precise. Your note's a blueprint for murder. Did you kill to claim the chalice's secrets for science? Croft's smile was cold. My work was for knowledge, not blood. If my notes were used, it was without my consent. Her detachment was almost too perfect, and Poirot's mind lingered on her access to the deadly pigment. Poirot paced before the fresco, piecing together the clues. The coin, the scroll, the footprint, the vial. The killer, he said, used the fresco as a canvas for murder, hiding belladonna in its paint. They knew the chalice's legend, the guardian's oath, and Sir Reginald's weakness, but one detail betrays them. He pointed to the fresco's chalice, its purple hue glowing faintly. The belladonna was not just poison, it was a signature, a boast of control. With a dramatic flourish, Poirot turned to Dr. Evelyn Croft. "Madam Croft, you are the murderer." Gasps filled the chapel as Croft's eyes widened, her calm cracking. "Your scientific precision crafted the poison. Your access to the fresco allowed its application, and your ambition drove you to kill. Sir Reginald hired you to analyze the fresco, but you found the scroll and coin first. You saw the chalice's historical value, a discovery to cement your legacy. When Reginald grew close to the truth, you mixed belladonna into the paint, knowing he'd touch it during his obsessive inspections. The footprint was yours. Your elegant shoes, not Lady Eliza's, left the mark in the crypt as you hid the vial to frame Victor." Croft's voice was icy. "You have no proof, Monsieur Poirot." But Poirot produced a final clue, a tiny paintbrush found in her leather case, its bristles stained with belladonna's purple hue. "This brush, madame, matches the fresco's deadly stroke. You underestimated Hercule Poirot's little grey cells." Croft's shoulders sagged, her defiance crumbling. "I wanted the chalice's secret for posterity, not profit. Reginald would have sold it to thieves. I had to stop him." Her confession sealed her fate, and Hastings summoned the local constable to take her away. As the suspects dispersed, Lady Eliza wept quietly. Victor embraced Clara, and Hale prayed for forgiveness. Poirot stood before the fresco, its chalice now a symbol of justice. "The human heart, Hastings," he said softly, "paints its own doom." The chalice remained hidden, its mystery preserved, but the killer's mask was gone. The story ends with Poirot and Hastings leaving the chapel, the fresco's saints watching in silence. If you've enjoyed this tale of deception and detection, grab a cup of tea and hit that subscribe button. Your support means the world to us as we unravel more mysteries together. Comment below with your thoughts, and stay tuned for the next adventure.